The night was cold on the edge of the alien colony. The sky shimmered with strange colors, rivers of green and violet light stretching across the heavens. A lone human traveler walked down a narrow street, his boots echoing on the stone ground. He had come far from Earth, leaving behind everything familiar, searching for something he could not name. At the end of the street stood a tavern, bold and crooked, glowing with faint blue lanterns. Strange shadows moved inside, and whispers flowed out through the broken door. He pushed it open, the smell of smoke and alien spices wrapping around him. Inside, dozens of alien faces turned to look at him, their eyes glowing with suspicion and curiosity. He felt their stares, but he did not hesitate. He moved to the counter and sat down, the wooden stool creaking under his weight. The bartender, a creature with scaled skin and 4 arms, said nothing, only nodded and placed a cup in front of him. The cup was not ordinary, it glowed softly, like liquid light trapped inside a glass before he could touch it. A young alien woman appeared beside him. She was different from the others, her skin pale silver, her hair flowing like threads of starlight. Her eyes were deep, filled with worry and warning. She leaned close, her voice low and sharp. "Do not drink this," she whispered. "If you drink this, you'll never be human again." The tavern grew silent. Every patron listening, the human traveler, looked at her, then at the glowing drink. His heart beat fast, but not from fear, from something else, curiosity, hunger, the call of the unknown. He asked, "Why do you care? What is this drink?" The alien girl's hand trembled as she tried to cover the cup. "It is the essence," she said, her voice barely holding steady. "Once it enters your body, you will change, your humanity will vanish. You will never return to what you were." Her words carried weight, like she had seen this fate before, but the man only smiled, his eyes calm yet filled with fire all around them. The other aliens whispered to each other, some in fear, some in excitement. The air grew heavy, the silence sharp. It felt as if the whole tavern was waiting for his choice. He wrapped his fingers around the glowing cup, feeling its warmth spread through his skin. The alien girl gasped, trying to pull it away, but he held it firmly. "You do not understand," she pleaded. "You will lose yourself, your world, your memories. Even your soul may not survive." Her silver eyes burned with desperation. The man's voice was steady. "I left my world long ago," he said. "On Earth I was nothing. Here maybe I can become something more." Her breath caught, as if she could not believe someone would accept such a risk. But the determination in his face was unshakable. He lifted the cup, the glow reflecting in his eyes. The entire tavern leaned closer, every alien watching. The air was so quiet that even the hum of the lanterns felt loud. It was a moment of suspense, a moment stretched between fate and fear. The alien girl whispered one last warning, her voice breaking. "If you drink this, you will never be the same. You will never be human again." Her words echoed like a final bell. But he did not flinch. He tilted the cup and drank deeply, the glowing liquid sliding down his throat, burning like fire yet cold as ice the moment it entered him. The light inside the cup vanished, leaving it empty. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. The man stood still, his eyes closed, his breath steady. Then a shiver ran through him, his skin glowing faintly, patterns of light tracing across his arms. The tavern gasped, voices rising in shock and fear. The alien girl stepped back, her hands covering her mouth. She had seen this before. Many who drank were lost, consumed, twisted into something monstrous. Her heart pounded as she watched him, waiting for the scream, the collapse, the transformation. But he remained calm, his eyes opening slowly, revealing a glow deep inside. He smiled faintly, as if he had just found what he was searching for. The alien girl shook her head in disbelief, her voice trembling. "What have you done?" "You were warned," he whispered. "I was never afraid." And in that moment, everyone in the tavern knew. The human had crossed a line no one could ever return from. The glow inside his body grew brighter with each passing second. The human traveler clenched his fists as strange energy pulsed through his veins. Every heartbeat felt like thunder, shaking his chest, spreading fire and ice together. The tavern filled with gasps and whispers, fear mixing with curiosity. Some aliens stepped back, their chairs scraping against the floor. Others leaned closer, their eyes wide, hungry to witness what would happen next. The bartender froze, his forearms trembling as he watched the impossible unfold. And in the middle of it all, the alien girl stood frozen, torn between warning him again and simply watching in dread. The man gritted his teeth as light patterns spread across his skin like glowing tattoos. They crawled up his arms, across his neck, and burned behind his eyes. He reached for the counter to steady himself, but his hand sank into the wood as if it were soft clay. The tavern gasped louder, realizing he was no longer bound by human strength. "Stop this, please stop," the alien girl begged, her silver hair falling across her face as she reached for him. But when her fingers touched his arm, a surge of energy shocked her back, sending her stumbling. She stared at her hand. It glowed faintly. As if touched by a star, her voice cracked. "You are changing too fast. You cannot control it." The man's breathing grew heavy, his chest rising and falling with unnatural rhythm. He felt as if two hearts were beating inside him, one human and one alien. Every sound in the room grew sharper. The whispers, the creak of wood, even the flutter of wings from insects outside. His senses stretched far beyond the tavern walls. He could hear thoughts. Scattered voices not spoken aloud. "Fear him," whispered one mind. "He is doomed," thought another. But beneath those alien voices, he also heard the alien girl's desperate plea echo in her mind. "Please don't lose yourself. Don't let it consume you." He turned to her, his glowing eyes locking on hers. "I can hear you," he said softly, and the words silenced the entire room. Her lips parted in shock, her eyes wide, realizing he had already crossed a boundary most never survived. "You are not supposed to hear thoughts, not yet, not so soon," she whispered, her fear deepening. The man staggered forward, each step leaving faint scorch marks on the floor. A trail of glowing footprints burned briefly before fading. He could feel strength rising in him, more power than he had ever known. But with that power came a shadow, a whisper inside his head not his own. The alien girl recognized the signs, and her chest tightened with terror. "They will come for you now," she said, her voice breaking. "They can sense the essence, the hunters. They will smell it in your blood." Her words hung heavy, but the man only clenched his fist tighter. The whispers inside him grew louder, urging him to let go, to surrender to the flood of energy, to lose himself in the storm. He closed his eyes, fighting the pull, his jaw tight, his breath rough, and then, as suddenly as it began, the glow dimmed, leaving him trembling but still standing. The tavern erupted into chaos, some aliens running for the doors, some shouting warnings, some simply staring in awe. The bartender leaned close, his scaled face pale. "You are cursed now, human, cursed." But the man ignored him, his gaze fixed only on the alien girl. "Tell me what happens next," he demanded, his voice low but carrying unnatural force. She shook her head, tears glimmering in her silver eyes. "You will lose your humanity. Piece by piece," she said. "First your senses, then your heart, then your soul, until nothing of the man remains." Her words struck him, but instead of fear, a strange calm spread across his face. He whispered, "Then I will fight for it. I will not let go so easily." A hush fell over the tavern again, as if everyone sensed a storm building. The alien girl looked at him, torn between despair and a spark of hope. Perhaps he was different. Perhaps he had something the others who drank did not. Still, danger loomed close, closer than anyone realized. Suddenly, the door creaked open, cold wind rushing inside. A figure stood in the doorway, tall, cloaked, and radiating menace. Every alien in the room went silent, their eyes lowering, their bodies shrinking back. The alien girl's face drained of color, her voice trembling. "It is too late. They are already here." The man's glowing eyes narrowed, his fist tightening as energy surged once again. The transformation had only begun, and already the world wanted to claim him. The hunters had arrived, drawn by the forbidden drink, and they would not stop until he was theirs. The man straightened his back, his voice a whisper yet strong. "Then let them come." The human traveler woke to silence. The tavern was gone, replaced by the open night sky filled with violet clouds and stars that pulsed like beating hearts. He lay on the cold ground, the air sharp with the scent of metal and smoke. His body felt strange, heavier and lighter at the same time. When he pushed himself up, the world around him shifted. Every sound was magnified, the whisper of grass, the distant hum of machines, even the heartbeat of a creature crawling beneath the soil. His eyes widened as he saw beyond normal sight. Colors that no human had names for burned in the air like ribbons of fire. The ground shimmered faintly, as if life itself glowed beneath the surface. He stood slowly, his hands trembling. The glowing pattern still marked his skin, though fainter now, like fading scars of light. When he touched a tree beside him, he felt not just its rough bark but the flow of water inside, the quiet pulse of life within its roots. It was overwhelming yet beautiful. A soft voice broke the silence. "You should not have survived the night," the alien girl whispered. Stepping out of the shadows, her silver hair shimmered under the alien moons, her eyes fixed on him with both awe and fear. No one who drinks the essence changes so quickly and remains themselves. He turned to face her, his voice steady but lower, resonant, as if another tone hid beneath his words. "What happened to me?" he asked, his glowing eyes reflecting her pale face. "You are no longer only human," she said, her voice soft. "You walk between worlds now." Her hand shook as she spoke, because she had seen too many lose themselves to this power. The man closed his eyes, listening again. Voices filled his mind, alien whispers, fragments of thoughts from the creatures around him, even from the girl standing near. He heard her unspoken fear. Will he turn into a monster like the others? Will I have to kill him? He opened his eyes and spoke. "You do not need to fear me," she gasped, her mouth opening in shock. "You can hear me," she whispered. "You should not hear thoughts this soon." Her heart raced. Visible in her trembling chest, the man stepped closer, his new awareness making him feel both powerful and fragile. "I do not want to lose myself," he said firmly. "Then you must fight harder than anyone before you," she answered, her silver eyes meeting his. "Every moment the essence will push. It will tempt you to surrender, and once you do, your humanity will vanish forever." Her words struck deep, like chains pulling at his heart. The night around them grew colder. Shadows stretching across the hills, from the distance a faint howl echoed, not of any beast but something far worse. The girl stiffened, her hand gripping a blade at her side. "They are coming," she whispered, "the hunters. They follow the scent of the essence, and now it flows through your veins." The man clenched his fists, feeling power crackle beneath his skin. "I am not afraid," he said, his voice steady, but inside he wondered if that was true, if fear was simply drowned by the rush of alien energy coursing through him. The girl studied him, her breath unsteady, then nodded slowly. She stepped closer, her tone urgent. "You must understand something. They are not only enemies, they were once like you. Humans who drank without caution. Humans who gave in." Her voice cracked as she remembered the faces of those who had fallen. "They are twisted now, broken, but fragments of humanity still remain inside their screams." The man's heart ached at her words. To imagine himself becoming such a creature was worse than death. But at the same time, he felt a strange pull, as if the essence whispered to him that this fate was not a curse but a transformation. He shook his head, fighting the thoughts, determined to hold on. The girl placed a trembling hand on his arm, this time without pain, her silver eyes locked on his. "Promise me you will resist," she whispered. "I promise," he replied, though a flicker of doubt hid behind his voice. The air around them grew colder still, and both turned to the hills as shapes began to move under the starlight. Far away, 3 dark figures emerged, tall and cloaked, their steps heavy as if the ground itself feared them. The girl's breath caught. "The hunters," she said, fear shaking her body. The man narrowed his eyes, his glowing veins pulsing brighter. For the first time, he realized his fight was not against them alone, but against the essence inside him. The night grew heavier, the wind sharper. The voices in his head grew louder, telling him to strike, to kill, to embrace what he was becoming. He clenched his fists, his teeth grinding. "No, I will not be a monster," he muttered. The girl looked at him, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. As the hunters drew closer, the man felt something awaken inside him. Not just power, but clarity. He could sense their steps, their intentions, their hunger, the alien girl whispered. "You can feel them already, can't you?" He nodded slowly. "I can, and I will face them, but deep inside," he wondered, was this awareness his strength, or was it the first sign of losing his humanity? The night gave no answer, only the sound of approaching doom, and as the stars burned above, the man knew the true battle had only just begun. The night was alive with silence, heavy and waiting. 3 cloaked figures moved down the slope, their steps slow but unstoppable. The air grew colder with every step they took, frost forming on the grass where their feet touched. The alien girl gripped her blade tighter, her silver eyes locked on the figures. Her body tense, the human traveler stood still, his glowing veins pulsing brighter with each heartbeat. He could feel them, not just see them, but sense their hunger. Their twisted thoughts, their rage, their minds screamed with broken echoes, half human. "Have something else, join us," one voice whispered inside his head. "You cannot resist forever," he shook his head. clutching his temple as the voices stabbed into his mind. The alien girl reached for him, her voice sharp. Do not listen. They will twist you if you let them. He looked at her, his glowing eyes steady. I hear them, but I will not bow. Her lips tightened, a mix of fear and hope in her gaze. The cloaked figures stopped at the edge of the clearing. One lifted his hood, revealing a face scarred and broken. Half human flesh and half glowing alien lines. His eyes burned red, his voice low and hollow. You have taken the essence, just as we once did, he said. You belong to us now. The man's jaw tightened. His fists clenched. I belong to no one, he answered. His voice echoing unnaturally, the hunters laughed. A sound that cracked the air like glass breaking. You will learn, the scarred one said. The essence is no gift, it is a chain, and the more you fight it, the stronger it binds you. The alien girl stepped in front of the man, her blade shining under the alien moons. He will not fall as you did, she said firmly, though her hand shook on the hilt. The hunters tilted their heads, their broken smiles mocking. Do you think you can save him? One asked, his voice like a growl. You warned him, yet he drank. He is already ours, the man stepped forward, his presence strong, his eyes glowing brighter. You call yourselves hunters, but I see only prisoners, he said. Prisoners of your own weakness. The words cut through the clearing, and for a moment the hunters' smiles faded, anger flashed in their broken eyes, their cloaks rippling as dark energy sparked around them. The man felt his body respond, power rising like a tide, urging him to fight, to destroy. His muscles tensed, his heart thundered, and the glowing marks along his arms flared brighter. The essence inside him begged to be unleashed. The alien girl reached for his arm, her voice urgent. Do not lose control. If you give in now, you will never return. Her touch steadied him. Pulling him back from the edge, he took a deep breath, forcing the storm inside him to calm. But the hunters stepped closer, their shadows stretching long. The scarred one spoke again, his tone sharp. You think you are strong? But every breath you take brings you closer to what we are. He pointed a twisted hand toward the human. We see it in your veins, in your eyes, and the whispers already inside your head. The man refused to look away, his voice steady. I am not afraid of you, he said. You should be, the hunter replied, his broken face twisting into a grin. For when the essence takes you, it is not us you will fight, but yourself. The alien girl stepped closer to the man, whispering, They speak truth, but only to weaken you. Do not let them in. He nodded, focusing his will, holding tight to the fragments of his humanity. Yet in the corner of his mind the whispers pressed harder, reminding him that power could be his if he simply let go. It was a battle inside as fierce as the one waiting outside. The hunters spread out, circling the clearing, their cloaks dragging across the frost. The man shifted his stance, ready. His glowing hands trembled not with fear, but with energy too vast to contain. The alien girl lifted her blade, her body trembling yet unyielding. Then come, the man said at last, his voice low but firm. The hunters grinned, their broken teeth gleaming under the moonlight. With a roar they leapt forward, their energy crashing against the clearing like a storm breaking. The ground shook, the air split with violent force. The man raised his arms, his power bursting outward in a shield of light. The alien girl swung her blade, its silver arc cutting through the dark. The hunters struck, their voices howling, their energy clashing like thunder. The night exploded with chaos, fire and light, and in the middle of it all, the man felt the truth. The real enemy was not only the hunters before him, it was the essence within him, whispering, waiting, urging him to surrender. And as the battle began, he knew the greatest fight of all was against himself. The clearing was a storm of light and shadow. The hunters struck with claws of energy, their broken bodies glowing with twisted power. The alien girl fought beside the man, her blade flashing silver under the moons. Every strike shook the ground, every clash sent sparks into the night. The man felt the essence boiling inside him, begging to be unleashed. His glowing veins burned hotter, his heart racing faster, his body trembling with force he could no longer contain. He struck one hunter with his fist, and the creature flew backward, crashing into the trees with a howl. The strength was intoxicating, terrifying, and yet so easy to accept. The girl cried out, "Hold yourself. Do not lose your mind." Her voice was sharp, cutting through the storm, but he barely heard her. The whispers in his head grew louder, voices of the essence, voices of the hunters, voices of something older. "You are not human anymore," they said. "Why fight it? Embrace what you are becoming." He staggered back, clutching his head, his glowing eyes flickering between human and alien fire. The alien girl rushed to him, blocking a strike meant for his chest. Her blade clashed with the hunter's claws, sparks bursting as she screamed, "Fight! Do not surrender." Her words pierced him deeper than the enemy's blows. He looked at her face, silver hair damp with sweat, her eyes wide with desperation. In her gaze he saw hope, fragile but unbroken. She believed he could resist. She believed he could remain himself, and for the first time, he questioned, was power worth losing, that trust, that belief, that humanity? The hunters pressed harder, circling, their laughter cruel and broken. "You cannot resist," one hissed. "We tried, we fought, and we failed. You will fail too." Their words dripped with truth and despair. The man clenched his fists tighter, his body shaking, torn between surrender and defiance. He shouted, his voice echoing like thunder, "I am still human." The essence surged in anger. Crackling through his body, the hunters snarled, their claws slicing through the air. The alien girl screamed as she fought, but the battle was slipping out of their control. The man fell to one knee, his glowing mark spreading across his chest, his skin splitting with light. Memories flooded him, his life on Earth, his family, his failures, his loneliness. Then visions came. Alien cities, endless stars, power beyond measure. The essence showed him two futures. One of human pain, one of alien power. Choose, the whispers demanded. Choose now. His breath came ragged, sweat running down his face. He looked at his hands, trembling with light, and then at the alien girl who stood bleeding, her blade raised though her strength was fading. Her eyes met his and she whispered, "Stay human, please." The moment froze inside him. On one side was the promise of power, on the other side the fragile thread of humanity. The hunters closed in, their red eyes blazing, certain of his fall. The girl stumbled but stood, her silver hair wild, her voice breaking as she cried, "Do not leave me alone in this fight." Something broke free in his chest. Not the essence, but his will, his choice, he roared. Pushing against the storm inside, the glow in his veins flared, not as wild chaos, but as controlled fire. He rose to his feet, his voice steady. "I will not abandon my humanity." The hunters howled in rage, their bodies twisting, their energy striking harder. But the man stood taller, stronger. His fists blazing with light, he now guided instead of obeyed. He struck again, each blow fueled not by surrender but by defiance. The alien girl cried out in relief, her blade flashing brighter as she fought by his side. For every whisper of the essence, he answered with a memory of who he was. For every temptation of power, he clung to the voice of the girl, to her plea, to her faith in him, and with each moment, he found strength not in what he was becoming, but in what he refused to lose. The hunters staggered, their laughter turning to screams of fury. The battle raged, the night echoing with thunder and fire. But within the chaos, the man felt calm at last. He had made his choice, and though the path ahead was dangerous, he knew where he stood. Humanity was fragile, but it was his, and he would fight to keep it. The alien girl collapsed beside him, exhausted but smiling faintly. "You are still you," she whispered, her silver eyes glimmering with tears. He reached down, lifting her gently, his voice firm. "I am still me, and I will not let them take that away." The hunters roared again, but in that moment, they knew his heart was not theirs to claim. The clearing shook as the hunters unleashed their full power. Their cloaks tore away, revealing twisted bodies, half human, half alien. Their skin burned with glowing cracks, their eyes red like dying suns. Each one pulsed with the same essence that flowed through the man, but darker, corrupted. The alien girl pulled herself up, gripping her silver blade though her body trembled with exhaustion. She looked at the man, her voice sharp though weak. "They are not holding back now. If you falter even once, you will be lost." The man nodded, his glowing veins flaring brighter, his fists clenching until sparks of light burst from his skin. He knew this fight was not only for survival but for his very soul. The first hunter struck with a roar, his claws slicing through the air like blades of fire. The man raised his arms, the impact shaking the ground, sending waves of energy outward. The force hurled the alien girl back, but she rolled to her feet and rushed forward again, her blade flashing in arcs of silver. The second hunter leapt high, landing behind the man, jaws opening with a scream that shattered the silence of the night. The man spun, his glowing fist crashing into the creature's chest. The impact sent shockwaves cracking the earth beneath them. The hunter staggered but did not fall, his twisted grin widening. "You fight like us already," he hissed. The words stabbed deep, but the man pushed them aside, refusing to believe. The alien girl struck the third hunter, her blade slicing into his shoulder. Dark liquid sprayed. Glowing like molten metal, he roared, spinning on her with claws raised. The man moved faster than thought, grabbing her arm and pulling her clear just as the strike tore through the ground. She gasped, looking at him with wide silver eyes. "You saved me," she whispered. But he only nodded, his focus locked on the enemies. The hunters circled again, their broken laughter filling the air. "You cannot win," one growled. "Every strike you make brings you closer to us." The man's breath came hard, his chest rising with each heavy inhale. He felt the essence pushing, trying to take control. It whispered of power, of victory. If only he surrendered fully, but in his heart, he heard the alien girl's plea, fragile but strong. "Stay human, please." The first hunter lunged again, this time faster, his claws grazing the man's chest. Pain exploded through him, light bursting from the wound. He staggered, almost falling, but he forced himself upright. His glowing eyes blazed, his voice low. "I will not break." Energy surged from him, brighter than before. Not chaotic, but controlled. The ground lit up, patterns of light spreading like roots of fire. The hunters snarled, shielding their faces from the brilliance. The alien girl gasped, whispering, "You are holding it back, shaping it," the man charged, striking the first hunter again, his fist glowing like a star. The blow hurled the creature across the clearing, crashing through trees with a scream. The second hunter leapt at him, but he caught the monster mid-air, slamming him into the ground with shattering force. The third howled and lunged for the girl, but she spun with her blade, her silver arc slicing deep into his arm. For a moment the night was filled with chaos. Light and screams, the hunters bled glowing fire, their rage filling the air like poison. The girl stood at the man's side, her chest heaving, her voice shaking. "You are not like them. You are fighting back." He looked at her, his jaw set. "Because I choose to." The hunters rose again, wounded but relentless, their forms more twisted than before. Their broken bodies shifted, bones cracking, claws stretching longer. The essence burned stronger in them, but it was no longer human at all. They were monsters now, shadows of what they once were. The man braced himself, his fists glowing brighter, his chest aching from the wound. He knew this was the moment, the turning point. If he faltered, he would be dragged into their darkness. If he endured, he could prove that humanity could stand against the essence. They charged together. 3 storms of rage and fire, the man roared back. His light colliding with their darkness, the clearing erupted, trees torn apart, the ground splitting, the night sky glowing with the clash. The alien girl shielded her eyes, tears streaming as she whispered, "Please, don't lose yourself." Through the storm, the man's voice rose, strong and unbroken. "I am still human," he shouted, each word cutting through the chaos. The hunters screamed in fury, their power crashing harder, but for the first time, doubt flickered in their broken eyes. The man struck again, his fists blazing with the fire of choice, not surrender. The hunters staggered, their monstrous forms trembling. The alien girl's voice rose, clear and strong. "You are winning." And in that moment the man realized, this battle was not just survival, it was proof. Proof that humanity, fragile yet fierce, could stand against the essence, proof that choice mattered more than power. Proof that he was not destined to fall like the others. The clash continued, brighter and louder, but his heart was steady. The night sky burned with their fight, and though the hunters struck with all their fury, the man held firm. He was not only fighting them, he was fighting the darkness inside himself. And with each strike he chose again and again to remain human. The clearing was fire and ruin. Trees lay broken, the ground cracked and smoking. The air filled with the smell of ash and glowing dust. The hunters staggered, their twisted bodies trembling, their voices howling with rage and despair. The man stood in the center, his veins blazing with light, his chest heaving with every breath. The alien girl knelt beside a fallen stone, her blade still clutched though her arm bled. She looked at him, her silver eyes wide with fear and wonder. He was glowing brighter now, brighter than any human should. The hunters hissed, pointing their claws at him. "You are no longer one of them, you are one of us." The man shook his head, his jaw tight, his eyes burning with fire. "I am not you," he said, his voice carrying across the shattered clearing. I am not a monster, the hunters screamed, their broken faces twisting. You cannot deny what you are becoming. They lunged together, the ground shattering beneath their weight. The man raised his arms, releasing a surge of light that blinded the night. The energy crashed into them, throwing the hunters back with thunderous force. The trees shook, the earth cracked deeper. The stars themselves seemed to flicker. The alien girl shielded her face, her body trembling. When the light faded, the hunters struggled to rise, their bodies breaking, their voices shrill with fury. You will burn yourself away, they hissed. The essence will consume you until nothing is left. The man stood taller, his glowing mark steady now, not wild but controlled. I am not afraid of burning, he said, his voice deep and calm. I am afraid of forgetting who I am, the hunters roared, but their strength faltered, their corrupted forms flickering with cracks of weakness. They were strong, but they had surrendered long ago, and now their chains were dragging them down. The man stepped forward, his fists blazing with fire. He struck the first hunter, the light exploding through its chest. The creature screamed, falling into dust and sparks. The second charged, but the alien girl leapt, her silver blade slicing its neck, the glow inside spilling before it collapsed. Only one remained, the scarred one. The first who had spoken, he laughed bitterly, his broken teeth glinting. You think you have won? But you are no different. The essence does not let go. It never lets go. The man looked at him, his eyes steady. Then I will carry it, but it will not carry me. With a roar, he struck, his light burning through the scarred hunter. The monster screamed, his voice echoing with fragments of humanity long lost. Then silence fell as he crumbled into sparks and vanished into the night. The clearing was quiet at last. The only sound the man's heavy breathing and the alien girl's soft gasp. The glow around him dimmed, his veins still shining faint but steady. He fell to one knee, exhausted, sweat dripping from his face. The alien girl rushed to him, catching his arm, her voice trembling. You did it, they are gone. He looked at her, his glowing eyes softer now. No, not gone. Only a warning of what I must never become. She stared at him, her silver eyes filled with tears. You are not fully human anymore, she whispered. Your body carries the essence. Your soul touches something beyond us both. He nodded slowly, his voice steady. Yes, I am not the same man who entered that tavern. But I am not lost either. The girl touched his chest gently, feeling the faint pulse of light beneath his skin. You are something new, she whispered, her lips trembling. Not human, not alien, but something in between. He looked at her, his voice low. Maybe that is what the universe needed. Someone between worlds. Her tears fell, but she smiled faintly, hope flickering in her gaze. The stars above shimmered. Brighter than before, the man lifted his head, feeling them, hearing them, sensing life across the world. He knew the essence was not gone. It would whisper to him every moment, tempting him to surrender. But he also knew he had a choice. And he had chosen. He turned to the alien girl, his voice firm. I will walk forward. I will fight to remain myself. And I will never bow to the darkness. She nodded, her silver hair glowing under the moons. Then you are stronger than any who came before you. He smiled faintly, though weariness pulled at him. No, I am simply human. Her eyes softened. No, you are more than human now. The night wind blew across the broken clearing, carrying away the ashes of the hunters. The alien girl leaned against him. Tired but alive, the man stood supporting her, his glowing marks flickering but steady. Together they walked toward the horizon, leaving behind the ruins of the battle. The world was still dangerous, the hunters were not the last, and the essence would never stop whispering. But the man had made his choice, and he would make it again and again. He was no longer only human, but his humanity still burned like fire in his chest. And that fire, fragile yet unyielding, was what made him something greater,